It is your planet. It is my planet. It is our planet. It's mostly my planet. And here on this planet, baby, even the reptilians pack heat. Planet Hog. Yes, sir. I am broadcasting you. No, I'm not QAnon. I do not think that there are people walking around that are dinosaurs. I am broadcasting to you live once again from the Terranium. I have delved back into the reaches while the beasts lie. Now I'm out here with the geckos and the frogs and shit. And thought I'd take the day in this way. Not bad. Yeah, see? Yeah, they're chiming in now. I'll lay out for you. Let you listen at them. There they are. Anyhow, glad to be back with you. You know, I think I'm going to need to update my fast food power rankings. And the more that I think about this, I have been quite lax in that, which I suppose is a good thing. But we've got some people lingering in some positions that I'm not quite sure they merit anymore. One day I think I'll lay out my how I come up with my fast food power rankings. There's a matrix, believe it or not. There is a matrix. Takes into consideration a lot of things. However, there is a come lately that has been shooting up that has my attention. And no, this is not a paid sponsorship, although it should be. I'm talking about Hardee's, ladies and gentlemen. I went there for breakfast, had a country fried steak biscuit. Well, I got the meal, so then that came with the home fried there, and some. Got a couple of orange juices and two more chicken biscuits for the road, because Hog's a damn man. Takes calories. Anyway, it was all delicious. And it was so good, in fact, that I said, you know what, I'm going to go back there for lunch just for purely scientific reasons. Not that I, no. I'm not that I'm going to enjoy this at all. This just needs to be done. Somebody's got to fucking sack up and do it. Why not me? I don't pass the buck, things of that nature. So I went back for lunch and got their chicken sandwich, and I got something else. I just got a couple of regular ass cheeseburgers, and they were all delicious as well. So you know what, Hardee's, and I'll tell you what, I almost didn't go to Hardee's. It's actually interesting how I ended up there. So I was going to Burger King initially, and it was like, but that line was super long. And I have a rule about where I go for fast food, and believe it or not, this actually factors into the matrix, because part of my matrix for the power rankings isn't just how good the food tastes; it's what the service is like on average. That's the biggest part of it. Okay, I'll probably do a separate episode that just lays out how I rank past fast food restaurants. Anyway, I'm at Burger King, and well, it's a line. It's wrapped. I'm like, ugh. But I don't mind that too much. So I'm just like, eh. But one thing I will do, and you can call me what you want to call me, but I will drive around one time and see who's working the window. Because if I see a black chick, I'm not fucking going. And that's how my ass ended up at Hardee's. Because I have a rule about that. And I understand that some good people get lost in the wash. But we're playing averages here. We're playing the numbers. And no, 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 no. So, anyway, I went to Hardee's. And Hardee's was busy too. So now I'm just like, fuck. So I'm sitting in the line, and the way it was orchestrated, it was kind of wedged in there. So I couldn't really get around to see. So now I'm just in line, and I'm well, bum 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 bum. I'm hoping for a white hostess, just like the ones at Chick-fil-A, where there is no unique Shante. They must have her working Sunday. I'm hoping. I'm hoping. And it was some old white lady, and they're usually the best at the window. They call you sweetheart, they call you dear, they call you love. I enjoy it. Anyway, but I went there. The service was actually pretty good, and the food was even better. So Hardee's has moved up on my leaderboard, but ladies and gentlemen, I'm actually not here to talk to you about this today, unfortunately. I am not, and yes, I'm hoping for a white hostess is available on, no, it's not, it's absolutely not. But we've all been there. We know, come on, be honest. That's what I will be, is honest. And, not that I want these things to be true, but until you can point at the problem and call the problem, you can't proffer a solution. So, I actually didn't come to talk to you guys about that today. Today I wanted to talk about, there's seems to be a whole lot of mass shootings happening. And I will refrain from my usual gallows humor as we talk about this because, I do want to embrace it with the proper respect that the topic deserves. So we're going to cut the funny out. In 3, 2, 1. So, yes, mass shootings are up. Or certainly are being reported like they are. Because I'm sorry, I take nothing at face value that comes from the mainstream media. They made it that way, not me. They made it so that I can't trust what they're saying, not me. So I'm not wrong for when you say this. I'm like, okay. But I don't, we'll see. Maybe. Because that's what you've earned. Excuse me. So, certainly appears to be a spike in these types of crime. And of course, it has brought about its usual, it's so, you guys just get so, it's draining almost in a way. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but it feels like I'm beyond frustrated anymore. It doesn't frustrate me anymore. It just drains me. It just makes me feel like because nothing gets done because we can't have an adult conversation about the topic. Which we are going to have an adult conversation about something, because I actually have a question for you about this, and maybe some of you out there have thought the same way. But I have a very important question about something that maybe not a lot of people are noticing or have noticed. Certainly, some of the people I've brought it up to when I've asked them this, they're like, "Oh, I never noticed that." So maybe that's a thing where people haven't noticed. But we'll get into that here in a second. So, more on the notion of gun control. Look, I'm not going to chew the same rag, make the same arguments that you hear a bunch of other people, a lot of other conservatives make. That you can't legislate morality, that, doing murder is illegal too, and they still, because, and I'm not rehashing them because I don't believe them to be valid arguments. They're all extremely valid. That's not the reality we live in. The reality we live in is you cannot be rational with the opponent that you're engaging with on this issue, because they will not be rational. Everything they do is sensational, it's emotional. It's just, again, I've said it once, I'll say it again. The Democrat Party employs and embodies some of the worst stereotypes of an emotional female. It's like the emotional woman is the spirit animal of the Democrat Party. So when you have somebody who you're trying to have a discussion with that is just screaming and being hysterical and making some of the most rancid and erroneous claims, accusations, when you're basically dealing with an adult throwing a tantrum politically, you cannot reason. So we need to move beyond the point of trying to make them understand. Because yes, although there are some people who can be reasoned with who are under their umbrella right now, is it worth the effort? I say no. I say it's time to circle the wagons. I say it's time to stop reasoning with them and to start protecting us. It's unfortunate. Again, just like the mainstream media. Me saying I don't believe it, I look like the loon, even though they're the liar. Me saying it's time to circle the wagon, I look like the, secessionist, crazy, fucking whatever, but they're the ones burning the country down. I'm just the one saying, I'm just tired. All right, fine, I'm done. Let's just split up. Which, if you noticed, can't find too many of your conservative pundits talking about that now, because they've catered to your rage, and now they're back to doing what they do. For as much as they like to talk about the people on the left, they're basically different sides of the same coin, as far as I'm concerned, with few exceptions. So anyway, you can't have a rational conversation because the other side is not being rational. Imagine that. Imagine some conservative barged into a Green New Deal meeting and started making up terms and phrases like assault rifle. Imagine if a conservative made up a term for something in the Green New Deal that did not exist. Imagine the reaction. That person would be laughed out of the building, even though the Green New Deal itself is laughable. That person would be roasted on all of the late night quote-unquote comedy shows, would be roasted by all of the pundits, and even some of the conservative ones might offer them up, because that's what they like to do. But somehow these people do this. We can't have a rational discussion because you don't even understand the subject matter. But moving on to the question that I was talking about at the beginning. I said, there's one question And one thing that I've noticed, and I don't understand it, and it has received mixed reactions, admittedly so, and it's this: why is it that whenever these things happen, we don't get to hear from the shooter? I mean, obviously excluding the cases where they take their own lives. There are a number of them that are taken into custody, but we never hear a peep from until they're taking the stand. Why is that? You may notice on the cover of this the familiar commercial face, the Verizon guy, who's, I know he's with the other company now, but, just to kind of be respectful, we put the old version of him up there, so in case he doesn't want to be attached to this kind of material in the event he ever hears about it, we're okay. It ties into this point. What was the phrase there? Can you hear me now? It ties into this point. Why is it we never hear from these shooters? And I had this discussion with a friend of the ladies some time ago, and he said, well, why would you? It's glorifying it. Well, that's interesting. Glorifying. So we don't want to glorify mass shootings, and in order to do that, we don't interview the shooter publicly. Yes, okay, got it. Now, I'm confused because I'm pretty sure there's a show called 16 and Pregnant. Would that be glorifying? I'm confused because I'm sure there's a show called Teen Mom. Would that be glorifying? I'm confused because there's a show called My 500-Pound Life. Would that be glorifying? So it's okay for us to promote bad behaviors and a litany of others. By the way, to not exhaust the point, I limited my example to a few. But pretty much anything that's on MTV, VH1, E. Is that glorifying? So it's okay for amusement on TV, but for real issues, huh? We can't. And again, it's not glorifying. If the man came on the camera and said, kill everybody, it's fun. If I had it to do again, I would. It's the best thing you can do. Kill, kill, kill. If he said that in the interview, if you are afraid that message getting to your child would make your child do that, then you are a fucked up parent. Then you are a shitty parent. Then the problem is you. Because I could have received that message 100 times over. Fuck, I watched Tom and Jerry. That's basically the message of Tom and Jerry. I watched Tom and Jerry as a kid. Whenever we watched TV, and we were young enough and we were watching cartoons. Because at a certain age, Dad knocked that out. All right, no more cartoons. But we watched that show constantly. And you know what never happened? I never tried to drop a piano on my brother's head. I never smacked him in the face with an iron. He never tied a firecracker to my clothes. Why? Because there were these people who were in our lives that filtered out all of the bullshit. That said, okay, you watch this for amusement, and that's where it stops. They're called fucking parents. So if you're one of these people that, you're glorifying it, you're basically admitting that you're a lazy fucking parent and that you shouldn't be allowed to raise kids because obviously you want the microwave version. But the other part of this is in no other enterprise. For example, a fire. Imagine if there is a fire. The fire department puts out the fire. The fire chief walks up, says, okay, you put out the fire? Yep, okay, let's go. And just walks off. Imagine you go to a doctor because you're violently ill. And they take you in. They run some tests. Excuse me. They don't run tests. They take you in. They give you something to fix it. And then they say, okay, you're good to go. And walk out the fucking door. In no other enterprise do we employ this approach. The fire chief has to tell you what caused the fire. The doctor tells you what causes these problems. Everything else we employ some kind of investigative arm after we've solved the initial problem. As to gain a better position, advantage, understanding, knowledge base, etc., to prevent the situation from happening again. Why don't you apply it here? Again, even if he came on and said and glorified and said that whatever your worst fear is that they would say that would turn a kid into a killing zombie, if you're doing your job, if your kid has a basic understanding of right and wrong, if your kid has a basic upbringing, morality, you have nothing to fear. And I know people say, well, no, there's these cases of those Bible kids that do it. There are always signs. I refuse to believe that a kid goes full-blown execute order 66 with no signs and then just turns into the fucking Terminator. There are always signs. Whether people perceive them or not, different issue. Whether people are paying attention or not, different issue. Whether people see them as signs or just a kid acting out, different issue. So, we don't ask this question. And I have to wonder why that is. Well, number one, I think it demonstrates more boldly than anything else that the media is not interested in the truth. Because if they were, why would they not put their cameras in front of them? That's literally their job, is to get the story. If I go to a store today and something wacky happens that the 6 o'clock news wants to show on to display on their program, imagine if they interviewed everybody else but me, the person that was actually involved in it. So it does not compute in anything else we do. So I have to wonder why. Well, like I said, number one, I think it demonstrates more boldly than anything else that the news is not interested in the truth. They just want enough of the truth that they can craft a story around to make interesting, but also enough so that when people try to challenge them, they can throw facts that these people don't know and they'll back down. So just enough to give them credential, but they don't want the whole fucking thing because they want enough to be able to create their own thing. And then the other thing is, what are you afraid of? Perhaps you're afraid of one of these mass shooters saying something like this. You know, I love my country. I'm ashamed that I had to do this, that I felt like I had to do this. I snapped. I worked, I busted my ass, I paid my taxes. I've gotten 4 tickets in my entire fucking life. I go to church. I don't mess with anybody. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I go to work. I show up. perfect attendance, and then you shut my business down because it wasn't essential. And I kept saying, I need help paying these bills. I need help paying these bills. Can I go back to work? But every time I tried to go back to work, you hit me with a fine. You shut my business down. You pulled my license. And now I'm losing my house. Now my wife left me because I'm no longer a provider and I'm no longer stable for her. Now we lost our kids because we can't afford to have them. I wonder how many of them would indict policies employed by the Democrats. Policies that are seen as axiomatic, as natural law, as you must be a fool to not agree with this in some form or fashion, like affirmative action, for example. Well, what would happen then? Well, then everyone would be faced with the truth. People could no longer act like these things are working. And when I'm saying people, I'm talking about the people who still believe the shit they see on TV. The people who, however well-meaning they may be, are completely lost. Those people would see. And I think those are the people that the Democrats protect the most. For example, when they did the primaries in Iowa, the Iowa caucus or the primary, whatever it was, when all of them were still running for president. It was the Democrat primary. I'll never forget this. And you had some lady talking about, oh yeah, I like Buttigieg, this and that, and he's good, and this and that, and the lady interviewing is like, okay, so it doesn't bother you that he's gay? And the lady's face shattered. She said, what do you mean he's gay? And the reporter's like, yeah, he's gay. He has a husband. And the lady was just crestfallen. She's like, oh no, I can't vote for him. I can't vote for that. Those are the people that the DNC protects the most. And those are the people that if that shooter opens their mouth, that lady's face times thousands, hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions. Because they don't want it. They don't want the truth to get out. If one of those shooters indicted those policies, you'd have to have a serious discussion because you could no longer refute it. You could no longer say, no, these policies help more than they hurt, because people would have a visceral, tangible example in their mind that they could go back to that says, no, 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 no. There was a mass shooter who said this is what set him off. So they think that by not interviewing these people, and again, this is my theory, my speculation, but by not interviewing these people, guess what I can do? I can tell you everything you need to know about them because you can't access them except through me. And I, in this example, being the media. I can tell you this is a crazed white supremacist. Why? Because you can't go down to his jail and get access to him and talk to him and ask him if these things are true. I can go the places you can't. The problem for the rest of us is these people will be heard one way or the other. Violence, I'll leave you with this. Let's not forget, for as advanced as we like to think we are, for as high and mighty, as far as we've come, as arrogant as we are about our own station in life, our own position, our native language is violence. Before people could speak to each other, they were killing each other. As a matter of fact, I I think it's pretty plausible to think that barrier in language caused a lot of people to kill each other that would otherwise not have had a problem. You know, settlers and Indians. You know, any two distinct groups that encounter each other that do not have a means to communicate. So violence is a part of who we are. Regardless of who you are, it's in you. We do our best to suppress it, to admonish it, and rightfully so in most cases. But when all other means of communication, check that, when all other means of learned communication, language, expressing your emotions in a healthy way, whatever the modern shit is, seeing a shrink, calling a friend, having a beer, breaking shit in the house, punching a wall, guttural rage yelling. When all other means of communication have broken down, we resort back to what we know. What's familiar feels good. Even if it's a bad thing. So for those outlets that think they're doing a great service, again, I don't give them that benefit of the doubt. I really think it is to manipulate and control the narrative and to protect some of their policies that would think about it. We've had this lockdown. People have lost their jobs. People have seen their income, their net worth go right down the crapper. At the same time, you're seeing your money being spent to help people who shouldn't be here. At the same time, you saw an election get rigged and stolen from you. At the same time, you're constantly being called racist. You're constantly being told you're a piece of shit. You're constantly being blamed for everything in the fucking world. At the same time, you can't go to fucking work. You can't dig yourself out of this hole. At the same time, your kids are being force-fed things about sexuality and gender and religion and history and wokeness that you don't agree with, but you're not allowed to say anything about. All of that adds up. All of that builds up. So despite the fact that the mainstream media thinks that by keeping these people off camera, they're keeping them silent, no, you're actually magnifying their voice, because then they do some of the most heinous things that maybe they themselves never thought thinkable or even doable at one time. But when you build that pressure up and there is nowhere for it to ventilate safely, there is only one outcome. So, again, regardless of how hard or how often or how much they try to suppress these people, like the dude on the picture said, "Can you hear me now?" Mass shooting. Anyway, that's what I got for y'all today, man. Appreciate you tuning in. And next we'll do something a little bit lighter tomorrow. I don't really like to dwell on stuff like this, but I still haven't found an answer to my question. I still haven't found a theory that debunks mine about why they won't let these people speak. But anyway, that's what I got for you guys today. Till the next time, ladies and gentlemen. Peace.